All right, I don't know how I've been able to contain myself over the last two fights, but here we go. Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. If you haven't heard it before, Charles Oliveira, to me, there's Junior Dos Santos and there's Charles Oliveira. That's who it's been for me. He was 22 when I saw this man do his thing. We got the same birthday. We're 1 year apart. I mean, I wish I knew the guy. I wish I knew the guy. Like, that's just how much of a connection I just feel with this boy. I feel like I've watched him really, really come out of the gutter and just become something so special. And the fighters he gets to fight now, the name he gets to uphold. One of my favorite stories it's probably one of my favorite stories in MMA, and it ranks really up there in sports. This kid just gets me going emotionally speaking, like nothing else. And you want to talk about breaking adversity, like this kid's life from the start has just been that. You talk about a guy who came in as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, taking on guys like Paul Felder who just clipped the shit out of you. He was just that classic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy looking for openings, taking so much damage and just trying to find it. That's where your bonuses come from, when you take that much damage and pull off comebacks. But now we're looking at a championship version of that fighter. Now, like I said, there's so much MMA math that can be done in the lightweight division with how much of this carousel we've been watching, but that's where you also want to kind of take things with a grain of salt, Justin Gaethje, tail of the tape against Michael Chandler. Both these guys had a very similar outlook, right? You knew that Chandler was going to be dangerous in the first few minutes of the fight. Charles Oliveira almost got finished, but then you come back. You find ways to hit him. And then when Michael Chandler starts to get heat, he slows down. And I think that's what you saw in both fights. And, watching Henry Hoof talk about it, watching even Michael Chandler talk about that fight with Justin Gaethje, you just saw a guy who's usually so athletic, poised, just fall into the trap of being exciting. You get into a fight with Justin Gaethje, and I'm sure as a pro fighter, it's like, let's just make these people roar. Let's just get this bonus, and let's just make some money and have fun doing it. I think title picture questions and all that shit was out of his head when it came to just throwing down and having fun. And, now he's talking about changing it up a little bit. And Justin Gaethje, I don't think anything changes for him. I think he goes in, balls to the wall. He even said it himself. The only fight he has ever stepped off the gas pedal to have a game plan where it's more of a gauge your opponent and see what happens was Khabib, and he hated everything about that performance, and I don't think he'll do that again. So in this fight, it's like, I'm just curious how good of a striker Justin's going to look against Charles Oliveira, because his ability to smell blood is insane. And, I really want to watch these guys go more than a few rounds. I really do. Just because of the level of MMA that you're going to be able to watch. Justin's got that wrestling background to help him if he needs to. And you got, a guy like Charles Oliveira who is known so much just for the grappling, but my word, is the wrestling getting better. The striking is getting so insane. And you can tell how much work he's put into that. The big thing for me with Charles Oliveira's striking is you don't see a lot of the big power punches getting thrown. They're crisp. They're setup shots. They come with knees at the end of them. It's just the Muay Thai culminating into his clinch game, culminating into his you're seeing a fighter that's been able to put together a much bigger game plan. You talk about a guy, who did we just watch? I think it's Grant Dawson. You talk about a guy like Grant Dawson who, looks like he can lose at any point in time till he gets your back and then no one's touching him. There's such an evolved version of that at a championship level. And it's like chess, right? You start at one spot, then you end at another. And when you look at the way that Charles is able to start from standing now versus, say, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, it's insane the quality that he brings. You now have to be fearful of that striking game at a boxing range, that clinch game. All of that is just culminating into what we saw in the past, this crazy ground fighter who can basically rattlesnake you and find that, opening. But with Justin, I mean, man, the power over the course of 2-3 rounds, maybe 4, is what really makes him so entertaining to watch, right? He'll take a punch to give you 4. And the 4 that are coming back are so hard that even in the third round, if he connects in the right spot, you're done. And that's where I'm curious to see if Charles Oliveira, as a striker, can actually go toe-to-toe with a guy like Justin Gaethje. Because if you go through Oliveira's, past fights, this predominantly is the toughest kind of fight. You can talk about how, Poirier was able to outbox Justin over the course of the 5 rounds where he got that victory. But, 3-round to 2-round Justin Gaethje is still a super dangerous fighter, and I think in that sense, that's where you've seen Charles be more susceptible than, say, the Dustin Poiriers of the world. Dustin Poirier used to be thought of a tough first-round fighter a long time ago. Then he, too, started to figure out how to not get knocked out so early and be able to prolong his cardio and do better as the fight goes on. And you're seeing the same thing from these two. So I will obviously, with my heart, take Charles Oliveira. My brain tells me that Justin Gaethje deserves to be a favorite here. Not by much. I've got -150 here. I just think that you can say so much about the evolution of Charles Oliveira, but you can say a lot more about the consistency when it comes to approaching a game plan with Justin Gaethje. And it just so happens that fighters with this style of game plan, this chin, this kind of power poses the biggest threat to Charles Oliveira. So let's go with Justin Gaethje as a -150. I think that... Wow. Okay. So this is going to throw a huge fork in the road for me because Charles Oliveira is a -163 favorite who is now sitting as a -180 favorite. I don't know, man. I don't know. Justin Gaethje is a +130 opener, now sitting as high as a +150. If this line keeps growing, guys, how do you not take a chance on Justin Gaethje? Honestly, how do you not? Unless this fight gets to the ground, and we rarely see Justin have to deal with that unless it's a Khabib Nurmagomedov. I mean, man, paths to victory. It's a lot closer than this suggests. So, woo! Some of these lines and some of these breakdowns just have me riding a huge high, guys. I mean, like I said, don't forget to like, subscribe. We're going to go hard at this card for the next few days. It's going to be really fun. Huge combat sports weekend with Canelo Alvarez boxing fight ending it all. So, keep it locked to SookyMMA, man. We're going to take things to a whole new level. And as much as I want to pick my boy Charles Oliveira to win, yeah, sure, pick him will go. But this betting line, oh my God, I'm now thinking Justin Gaethje. Where is my head, people? Keep it locked. We're going to figure this thing out. I'm so pumped for this card. Let's get it.